Donald Trump's days are getting tougher and tougher, guys. As each day goes by, he clearly appears to be spiraling and making sure every Republican senator knows it. During a tense breakfast meeting, Trump reportedly unleashed on his own party, visibly panicked and unraveling in front of them. Witnesses describe him lashing out, ranting incoherently and looking close to tears. That was for much of his speech as well. It was a humiliating spectacle, one that perfectly captures his growing desperation and erratic behavior. Now, before we unpack the chaos of Trump turning on his fellow Republicans and hinting at his alarming obsession with undermining future elections, it's worth mentioning how he began. He began by attacking the low-income Americans who rely on SNAP benefits, guys. Before I proceed, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like and comment on this video, please subscribe because it does go a long way in supporting our work. Going back to the video, once again, Trump showed his cruelty and complete lack of empathy, guys, targeting struggling families whilst trying to distract from his own failures and fears. Take a look at here.
So millions of Americans are going to be without SNAP benefits, and I will say about SNAP benefits, so when I was president, we had $7 billion worth, and now they have many times that, because these benefits were given to anybody that asked, and they're up to, I hear, just many times, $47 billion. So it wasn't the purpose of SNAP. It was for people that really had problems, down and out, people that really had problems. But during Biden, they gave it to anybody that wanted it. I think it's something you have to talk about because the numbers are incredible. But countless public servants are now not being paid, and the air traffic control system is under increasing strain. We must get the government back open soon, and really immediately. We have to get it up. We have the hottest economy we've ever had.
It's honestly no shock that Donald Trump remains completely clueless about his government actually functions. But his ignorance goes even deeper than that, guys. He seems utterly unaware that most Americans who receive SNAP benefits are working people, often parents, struggling to feed their children, whilst juggling jobs, one or two or more. Trump's contempt for them is not just heartless. It's absurd, guys. The kids relying on food assistance aren't mooching. Donald, they're victims of an economy he's actually wrecked. Maybe if his disastrous policies hadn't, cost millions of jobs, if his chaotic, trade wars hadn't sent prices through the roof and soaring, and if his reckless market manipulation hadn't fueled instability, fewer Americans would be forced to rely on food assistance to survive. But Trump doesn't care about working families. He never has. He's far more interested in simply enriching himself. If anyone has exploited the government for personal gain, guys, it's Trump, the man who's turned public office into a grifting empire. Cashing in on every ounce of power he could grab. No president in modern history has profited more shamelessly from their position. And now, in typical Trump fashion, he's moved on to a new obsession, trying to, manipulate the filibuster and attacking his own Republican allies in the process. It's the same old Trump playbook, guys. Ignorance, greed, chaos on repeat.
It's time for Republicans to do what they have to do, and that's terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it. And if you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be in bad shape. We won't pass any legislation. There'll be no legislation passed for 3.25. We have 3.25 years, so that's a long time. But when they can't do an extension, and John, I think they've done an extension every single time they've ever been asked forever. This is the first time they haven't done an extension. Extensions are supposed to be easy, but if they won't do an extension, they won't do any bill, even a simple bill. And we should do our own bills. We should get out. We should do our own bills. We should open up. We should start tonight with the country's open. Congratulations. Then we should pass voter ID. We should pass no mail-in voting. We should pass all the things that we want to pass, make our elections secure and safe, because California is a disaster. Many of the states are disasters. But can you imagine when they vote almost unanimously against voter ID? All we want is voter ID. You go to a grocery store, you have to give ID. You go to a gas station, you give ID. But for voting, they want no voter ID. That's only for one reason, because they cheat. We would pass that in 15 minutes. If you don't get it, you'll never pass that. You'll never talk about mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots make it automatically corrupt. If you have mail-in ballots, automatically it's correct.
Just listen to the way Donald Trump talks about his so-called plan for America. It's nothing short of a blueprint of authoritarian control. He brags that with voter ID laws, his party would never lose another election, as if democracy is some, game to rig rather than a system meant to reflect the will of the people. Trump's words reveal exactly what he craves: absolute, unchecked power. Under his influence, Congress has already been reduced to a shadow of what it should be. No longer a co-equal branch of government, but a collection of loyal enablers. Speaker Mike Johnson and Senator John Thune have been bending over backwards to serve Trump's whims, with only rare moments of resistance, such as the current hesitation to scrap the filibuster entirely for him. Trump wants to strip away every remaining barrier to his dominance, using Congress to manipulate elections he has no constitutional authority over. He already tried to interfere with the election the other day, sending so-called poll watchers and vote checkers to California in an attempt to intimidate voters. But it backfired spectacularly, especially as Prop 50 passed by a huge margin. The message from the public was loud and clear. Americans will not be bullied by Trump's fear tactics. His failure has left him seething, lashing out at Democrats, and even turning on Republicans at the same time, who refuse to hand him total control. Is the behavior of a desperate man watching his grip on power slip away.
Nobody else is going to object. They're going to do it the first day. They're going to pack the court. They're going to make D.C. a state, and they're going to make Puerto Rico a state. So now they pick up 2 states. They pick up 4 senators, okay? You think you have problems? They're going to do all of the things. They're going to pick up electoral votes. It's going to be a very, very bad situation. And it's done. It's done. As soon as they attain power. Now, if we do what I'm saying, they'll most likely never attain power, because we will have passed every single thing that you can imagine that it's good and all good for the country. And there'll be no reason to. If we don't do that, people will say they're not doing much and they're in power.
Donald Trump is absolutely livid, guys, and underneath that rage is pure fear. He knows exactly what's coming: the collapse of his political grip. The upcoming midterms are shaping up to mark the effective end of his influence, and he can feel it slipping away right in front of his own eyes. Despite his bluster, Trump himself has been admitting in frantic posts, guys, that obviously on Truth Social, where he's all but confessing that if Democrats secure the majorities they're expecting, flipping seats in places like Maine, Texas, and even Alaska, his era of control is finished. The numbers don't lie, guys. If Democrats continue their surge across key states, it's going to be a total political wipeout for Trump and his loyalists together. A reckoning long overdue. Once Democrats take power, Trump's inner circle will finally be dragged into the spotlight to answer for the corruption, abuse of power, and chaos that have defined his administration. That's the nightmare keeping Trump up at night, and it's why he's now desperately trying to rewrite the rules of democracy and to cling to power somehow. This isn't about policy or principle, guys. Trump's agenda has never been popular. It's about self-preservation. His endless insistence that he's not the ballot is laughable. Voters know exactly what and who they're rejecting. The message from the electorate couldn't be clearer. America is done with Trump's corruption, his cruelty, and his ego-driven politics. So Trump is reportedly, sullen and panicked, and man finally realizing that his con has run its course. He's at the end. He knows it. He's lashing out at Republicans who refuse to help him break the system, and raging at the thought of accountability, very close again very soon. But this meltdown is not only fueling democratic momentum, as Gavin Newsom pointed out last night. The tide has turned, and watching Trump's empire of grift and fear crumble in real time, guys, is poetic justice.
party that is in its ascendancy, a party that's on its toes, no longer on its heels, from coast to coast, sea to shining sea. But it was not just a victory tonight for the Democratic Party. It was a victory for the United States of America, for the people of this country and the principles that our founding fathers lived and died for. And so we're proud. We're proud here in California to be part of this narrative this evening. We're proud of the work that the people of the state of California did tonight to send a powerful message to an historic president. Donald Trump is an historic president. He is the most historically unpopular president in modern history. In every critical category, Donald Trump is underwater. He promised to make us healthier. He promised to make us wealthier. We're sicker and poorer. And he fundamentally understands that. Why else would he call Greg Abbott saying he's entitled to 5 seats? Why else is he trying to rig the midterm elections before one single vote is even cast? He understands his position at this moment in the United States of America. One thing he never counted on, though, was the state of California. Instead of agonizing over the state of our nation, we organized in an unprecedented way in a 90-day sprint. People from all over the United States of America contributed their voices and their support for this initiative. We stood tall and we stood firm in response to Donald Trump's recklessness. And tonight, after poking the bear, this bear roared with an unprecedented turnout in a special election with an extraordinary result. None of us, however, are naive. This is a pattern. This is a practice. Donald Trump's efforts to rig the midterm election continue to this day. And I'll reinforce that in just a moment. You're seeing him take action all across this country, not just in Texas. You saw what they were successfully able to do in Missouri, what they did in North Carolina, what they're trying to do in Indiana, and inevitably in Florida. They are not screwing around. In June of this year, we saw 4,000 National Guard federalized in the state of California. We saw 700 active duty Marines not sent overseas, but sent to the second largest city in the United States of America to militarize our streets.
This is exactly the kind of energy Democrats need right now. Bold, confident and unapologetic. For too long, critics, in my opinion, have painted Democrats as weak or ineffective. But after the other day's victories, that narrative has been completely shattered. The results speak for themselves. Democrats delivered sweeping wins across the board, directly challenging Donald Trump's toxic influence and proving that his grip on American politics is clearly breaking. As Governor Gavin Newsom also said that with a grin actually, Democrats have their mojo back and you can feel it. There's a renewed sense of purpose, conviction and unity. It's time to stand tall, speak with confidence and keep calling out the lies, corruption and extremism that Trump and his enablers peddle every single day. So the win the other day, again, wasn't just a political win. It was a moral boost. A reminder that truth and democracy still have power when people show up and actually fight for them. And this momentum doesn't stop here, guys. The midterms, they're around the corner, they're coming. And if the other day was an indication that it's going to be another decisive blow to Trump's crumbling movement, the momentum needs to keep going. As always, guys, appreciate you for staying with me till the end. And as always, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us greatly. And stay connected, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.